That's a long walk. I was looking at Chad. Chad, where are you? There you are. Can you stand one more time? I'm just jealous. Do you see his pecs, his biceps, and he chose a shirt that was 2 sizes too small to begin with. I'm going to start doing that. But I've got kids and family that are going to mock me. So when I came to America in 1973, I always wanted to have a body like Chad's. So I went to this health food store, and Joe Weider was a name in those days, and I bought his protein building things. Hold that thought for a minute. This is 1973, and where I come from in India, there's going to be too much information to start with. We didn't use toilet tissue. We washed. And now you have them, you can push a button and keep sitting, it'll wash your stuff. So when I came to America, I was 20, and I had never used toilet tissue. So that was a learning curve at 20. There are no videos to prepare you for that. I remember I was in the men's dorm, and so there's this guy by the name of Gary, and he was taking care of his paperwork, and I happened to look at him because I'm trying to learn, right? I mean, you don't ask people, so how do I do this? Can you do a demo for me? So, this is all true, happened to me. And so I see him taking care of his stuff, and he sees me seeing him, and he says, "What are you looking at?" So I said, "You wiping." Okay. So I did not know the things that go along with that. So what I said to myself is, no problem. I'm going to just take a shower after I take care of my business. Back to the Joe Weider protein shake. You see the train going somewhere, right? So I started taking that stuff. There were some barbells and dumbbells, in there. So I was doing that as well, but I started drinking that protein stuff. And that protein stuff wanted to go through. But remember, this is my pre-wiping days. This is my take shower days. So I took a lot of showers. Where did that story come from? I don't know. I haven't even thought about that till I saw Chad. Yeah. If I look familiar to you, you say, I've seen him somewhere. You might have seen me at my gas station, my 7-Elevens, my Dunkin' Donuts, my Dairy Queens, my Subways. We're everywhere. Yeah, and if I sound familiar, it is when your computer goes down and you call for tech support. I'm here. And just as an aside, talking louder is not the issue. Problem is, you don't understand me, but I don't understand you. And then I say, go to settings. And that's where it all goes downhill. So on behalf of all of my homies, I just here to take a bow and let you know that I've helped a lot of you in this room that you don't even know about. My life it's probably the most improbable journey in life. I already told you at 20 years of age, I came to United States, 1973, and life was different. When I landed in JFK Airport in New York, I had literally 87 cents in my pocket, literally. And the way I remember that is, if you've been to JFK, it's a kind of a round area, and the international side is here, and the domestic side is here. So I flew in on Air France, but I had to catch Eastern Airlines. Anybody in here remembers Eastern Airlines? Okay, you are too young for that. So at least you're pretending to be. You know, all the hair polish is not going to cover up everything. So I was dragging my suitcase from international to domestic, and they had a shuttle bus that comes around, and in those days it was $1 to get on it. So I got on the bus, and the driver said, that'll be $1, sir, and I came up with 87 cents. And as they can only do in New York, he told me to get off his bus. And so that's how I remember that. So life was very, very different. I had no idea what the good Lord had in mind for me. People say, so how did you get to do what you get to do? And I said to him, I'm the biggest accident you've ever seen. There has been nothing strategic about my life. It's just been a daily thing. Just put one foot in front of the other and keep doing whatever the Lord is asking you to do. So now at this stage in my life, almost 73, I've got clients on every continent except Antarctica. I'm working on my 41st book. And I'm telling you that story not about me, but I'm telling you that story to let you know that life is not how it is today. Life is not easy. Life is difficult. Doesn't matter who says what on a platform, and we tell all our success stories, that's not where it's at. Life is a grind. Life is tough. And it doesn't get easier. It does not get easier. You know, there's a fallacy in our world, and I call it the when and then. When my kids are grown up, or it starts with when we have children, then. When they leave the house, then. When we have enough money, then. Once I've finished my education, then. Once we have saturated this market, then. And I'm here, I've lived long enough and done what I do long enough to tell you that there is no when and then. If you wait for when, the only thing that's going to change is you're going to be older. You don't want to die a woulda, coulda, shoulda life. You won't chase it down. And no one's going to hand it to you. You have to work at it. So what I want to do today is just have conversations with you, if that's okay. I don't have like a bunch of teaching. I'm not selling anything. I have no books to promote. That's all on Amazon nowadays. Many of you have already told me that you've Googled me, and that's what happens nowadays. You get everything. So everything you see on page 1 of Google, I wrote, so it's all good. That don't go to page 3 or 4. You know, that's the other people. That's the other people. You can't believe anybody who's not on page 1. I mean, how many of you go beyond page 1, right? As long as you're on page 1 and it's all good, it's all good. So I wrote my own propaganda. You just need to know that. So I'm not here to promote anything. I'm not here to sell anything. There will not be anything that if you do this, this will happen, that will happen. So what I want to do today is to give things I have learned. My best learning comes from other leaders. So they call me in as a consultant. They pay me as a consultant. But really what they don't realize is they're paying me to learn more. And without giving names, I'm going to share with you some things I've learned. And to narrow it down, kind of said to myself, okay, what did you, when I was preparing for this, it was like, what have you learned in the last 3 years? So I went through my system that I keep to work with my clients and say, I learned this here, and I learned this here, and I learned this here, and that's what I want to do. So if you're looking for point number 1 to have any correlation to point number 2, there's no such thing. I just want you to know that, because some of your OCD people saying, what if 3 had nothing to do with 2? I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with 2. So if you're looking for a segue, if you're looking for a transition, and you say, now what did that have to do with that? Nothing. I'm telling you that right now. Nothing. And when you get old like me, that's expected of you. So you can get to make up a lot of stuff and excuse it for that. Thank you for this invitation. Thank you for the introduction. Pastor John McKenzie, where are you? Where are you, Pastor? Where are you, Pastor? Oh, yeah. You didn't pay $49? We got to solve that problem right there. You know, he's a budding star. He's got a lot of potential. So we can invest $49 in him. Thank you for the vision that you have for where we are at and what we are doing. There's an American author and philosopher by the name of Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway writes his philosophical fiction books with messages in it. One of the books that he wrote was called The Sun Also Rises. In the book, there are two characters, Bill and Mike. Bill and Mike are friends, and they're going through a conversation. Bill says to Mike, hey, I'm going bankrupt. Mike is flabbergasted, you're going bankrupt? Mike asks Bill, how are you going bankrupt? And I want to listen to the answer because I want to talk about that for a minute. Bill says, gradually and then suddenly. I'm going to say that again for you. Gradually and then suddenly. Say it one more time. Gradually and then suddenly. So what businesses do, what corporations do, what leaders do is they react from the suddenlies. Go from this happened, then this happened. So we go from event to event, from suddenly to suddenly. But my guess is that all of you have done what you do long enough and lived long enough to know that once you start walking that dog back, you know it did not start with that event. There's lots of things that were ramping up to that time, but nobody is keeping their eye on the gradualies. So who has the intellectual property in your organization who's keeping an eye on the gradualies? Businesses don't go like that. People don't go rogue on you. Okay, anybody in this room has people who are on your team at one time and they just went bad, they went rogue. Can I see your hands? Can I see your hands? I'll wait for some more hands. I mean, this is life. This is life. This is life. And as you start looking at them, you know they didn't go rogue overnight. Businesses that start declining didn't happen overnight. So my challenge to you really this morning is, so who is keeping eyes on the gradualies? Because the gradualies is like erosion. Anybody had those rivets in your backyard from the rainwater? It's not overnight. It is a speck of sand at a time. Most organizations that I've worked with, when I've been called in, I would say 80% of the organizations that call me is when they're having a challenge. 20% are people who say, we're doing great, how can we do better? And as I go into an organization and start working with them, I start finding out it was never one bullet that did it. It was not one event that did it. It was not that one decision that did it. What happened was a series of happenings that we excused, we overlooked, that we didn't take full cognizance of, that we allowed it to happen, we tolerated it. Because, your organization grows only to the limit of what you're willing to tolerate, because that's what sets culture in an organization. So my first challenge to you is, How are you and your team keeping your eyes on the gradualies? Remember what Bill said to Mike? I'm going bankrupt. How are you going bankrupt? I'm going, because it goes from gradually and then suddenly. Even as I'm saying things to you right now, in your own experiences, you can see how you reflectively look back and learn lessons from that. People will say things like, nobody told me. All of you have heard that. Or, I didn't know about that. Or, I didn't see that coming. Or, wow, that's surprising. Suddenly, but before that, there are a lot of gradualies. So to do that, you have to create systems of keeping your eyes on the gradualies. Now, only you know what the gradualies are. I cannot, because there's such a diverse group in this room, you have to figure out what are the gradualies. Because here's the thing, the higher you go in an organization, the lesser gradualies are brought to your attention. The reports that you get are the big picture reports. In fact, most CEOs and most C-suite people, most of the high-level people in the organization get annoyed and aggravated with too much detail. It's like, just tell me the bottom line. So everybody who's feeding them information is just giving them what we call the executive summary, whatever that would mean. But that is not the gradualies. But if you are irritated with that, if you're annoyed with that, if you're aggravated with that, and all you want to deal with is the big picture, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But somebody has to keep their eye on the gradually. And when those people bring you their concerns about the gradualies, you have a choice to make whether you're going to explore it further or you're going to give them signals that you're not interested. Gradually, and then suddenly. That was point number one. Point number two. I have learned that things don't go wrong, they start wrong. Things don't go wrong, they start wrong. Things don't go wrong, they do what? Start wrong. In my previous life, I was a university president. And as we were going through whatever we went through as the educational institution, and we came up against different challenges, and I started looking back on it, I had to admit that things don't go wrong, they start wrong. How you onboard, how you partner, how you invest, how you do due diligence, how you, instead of speeding up, how you slow down, who your advisors are, who your consultants are, who are your lieutenants in the whole mix of things, how you start. Things don't go wrong, they start wrong. And so when a business opportunity comes to you, or a new client comes to you, a place that you never thought, but you have this opportunity, that is the time that you've got to make sure that the foundation is right, that you have done due diligence on the people. Places that I've messed up in are I did not do a deep dive into the people I'd be partnering with. I had a good deal. I had a great opportunity. The return was pretty solid, but the people were not that. So how do I learn more about them? How do I learn more about their pedigree? How do I learn more about their ethos? How do I learn more about their value system? How do I learn more about what they actually represent? How do I learn them? So we become transactional rather than knowing that every problem you're having is a person, and every solution you have is a person. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with today. You start breaking it down one at a time, and it'll all come down to a person. It doesn't matter how you want to look at that. So because every problem is a person and every solution is a person, I have to do due diligence on the person. Because it doesn't matter how good that opportunity is, doesn't matter how good the investment is, doesn't matter how good the surety on it is, all those things will come back to haunt you because things don't go wrong, they start wrong. So to start things right is a counterintuitive to what we do. We want to speed things up. And I'm suggesting to you, maybe the counterintuitive thing is to slow it down. Because if you start a conversation too early and you consummate it too early, you just haven't given it time to percolate. You haven't given it time to breathe. You haven't given it time to grow, to be nurtured, to be cultivated. You just haven't done all that needs to happen at the front end of things. Things don't go wrong, they start wrong. Point number 3, which has nothing to do with 1 and 2. I just want you to know that I'm telling you that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for another 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll let you go back to your tables for about 3, 4 minutes, and very quickly just want you to talk at your table as to what's your takeaway till then. Some of you are going to say, I'm done, I'm gone, this is boring, this is dull, I'm leaving. I'll pretend like I'm going to the restroom, but I won't be back. That might be your takeaway, and things don't go wrong, they start wrong, and I get that, and then gradually, and then suddenly, I understand all of those things. So you'll put into practice what I'm talking to you. So let me do another 15, 20 minutes, and then you come back together in your tables, and that might be a good way, Rob, for people to get to know each other, and so those kind of things. But I'll just give you 3, 4 minutes, so it won't be very, very long. And that way I get a break too. In the early 50s, there was a guy by the name of Bob Anderson. Bob Anderson was a department manager for Kmart in Denver. They had just opened a Denver store. It was doing well, could do better, and Bob Anderson was in charge of the men's merchandise in Kmart. How many of you are willing to say you know when I say Kmart that you know what Kmart? Okay, good. Because some of you are saying Kmart, I don't know. I just know Walmart. So he was in charge of the men's department. But his sales were lagging. So he said, wonder what will happen if I did maybe a flash sale for 15, 20 minutes and see what we can move and discount stuff. So he rigged some stuff up. He got a shopping cart, went to the home goods area and got a broom, and then went to the automotive department, got a red light, swirling light, and then also got a battery pack that he put in the cart. So he had this thing rigged, and then he got on the microphone and started with a red light special. Well, the fire department found out about it and said, no, you can't do that. So he said, okay. So he went and got himself a blue light. Thank you, I'm so glad you all are here. The ladies are the best in the room. So he got himself a blue light, and hence that became the blue light special. How many of you ever shopped at a blue light special? Okay. And the ladies department found out about it. They said, can we borrow your blue light? So they started, this is in Denver, they started moving that buggy, and they just do the blue light special. And that thing started doing well for the store. Well, headquarters found out about it. They liked that sales were going up. They didn't have to capitalize it. They didn't have to have an executive leadership team meeting. They didn't have to have a feasibility study. You all know about that, right? So, yeah, you want to kill something, send it to feasibility. Absolutely, absolutely. That's a slow walk to death. That's what I used to do. When I was president of the college, I didn't like something, I made a feasibility committee. First of all, a committee. You know, a camel was a horse before it went to committee. Yeah, you get the lowest common denominator results out of committees. So I've killed a lot of stuff just by not saying no. You have to figure out to say, let them die on themselves. So headquarters found out about this, and in all of their wisdom that headquarters have, they said, you know, it would be wonderful if we had a blue light special in all of our, at that time they had 3,427 stores. That we can have a blue light special in all of our stores. Yeah, that worked pretty good. And then headquarters had another brilliant idea. Why don't we have a schedule for a blue light special? So all the stores on the same day, at the same time, are going to have a blue light special. They didn't understand the concept of flash sales. So now it became predictable. And every store at the same time, on the same day, was having blue light special. And headquarters got wiser, smarter, brilliant. And they said, not only are we going to have a blue light special on the same day at the same time, but we're going to sell the same products at the same time. You know, it's hard to sell a bikini in Minneapolis in January. Miami, yeah. It's hard to sell a shovel in Texas. In Chicago, yeah. And the lesson there is, as you grow and as you proliferate, you have different locations, different team members, different time zones. And all of us want similarity. But I'm here to ask you to challenge yourself to value differences. I was working with a corporation in Australia. And at that time, this was a number of years ago, at that time they had 57 locations around Australia. And I was invited to work with the executive team, with the CEO, the leader of this organization. And they were really frustrated that people on the western coast in Perth were not doing the same thing as people in Sydney. And people in Sydney were not doing the same thing as Melbourne or Brisbane or Adelaide. So the big conversation was, these people just are not part of our culture. They don't fit. They're not following directions. We send them memos, and they are not doing what we are asking them to do. So I was part of that meeting. And that is where, so in case you want to know what a consultant does, consultant hears what you're saying and then makes up some stuff. That's what I do. If you're talking to me, just know this. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I make up stuff that you say, yeah, makes sense. And that's how I make my living. So, so, so in my brilliance in that moment, I said about 8, 10 people around the table in the brilliance, I said to them, I said, you know something? What would be a really good exercise for us to do would be to decide what are the 20% that you do here has to happen in all 57 locations. You have to have that. And what are the items that they can have autonomy over? So, they did that. It was very difficult for them because the list was really, really long. And the list was long in the area of everything had to be the same. And then they talked through it and talked through it and talked through it, and they whittled it down to what had to be and where diversity and differences could come up. So if you are a growing business and you have different locations, or you have partners, not even locations. Maybe I'm not using the right terminology for your business. You have different partners, you have different outlets, you have different expressions of what you do. Most people don't value differences. Differences in dress, differences in approach, differences in locations. Most people are looking for similarity. But as you proliferate and grow and diversify, how you value differences will be part of your culture. Does that make sense to you all? The difference maker is the difference. But you have to work hard at making sure that whatever you say is going to be different gets communicated. That you are welcome to innovate in this area. You're welcome to do what works best for you in this area. But here are the things that have to be uniform. And once you make the delineation, once you make that difference, once you allow people to know, here's your areas that you can play in. Here are the areas where you're mandated. That's where innovation comes in. Innovation is not a thing. Innovation is an experience you allow people to have. And as that experience is in the environment, the more people have leeway to play with, because not any of us is not as smart as all of us. So how do we value differences? I think this will be a good time for you to just get in your tables, and I'll give you maybe 4 minutes and just talk about just one thing. What's your takeaway thus far? What's your takeaway thus far? One more minute, one more minute, one more minute. All right, all right. I'm going to come to maybe 3 tables randomly, and one of you can just speak up whatever has been your takeaway. I love the sound in the room. This is really, really good. All right, how about we start at table number 1?
Y'all are being asked, what was y'all's discussion?
Yeah, just one of you just tell us what's your takeaway.
One takeaway from y'all's discussion. He's pointing at you, sir.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that we focused on was the gradual, versus the sudden. This is a particularly focused type of concept at this table because of the business that we do. But I think that if you look at the persons, representing the guy with the tight shirt,
Chad.
he doesn't just wake up one day looking that way, right? These are decisions that were made and promises that are kept through a process. He's paying attention to the gradual. The gradual is every time you sit down to eat and you have a bowl of candy sitting in front of you, it's a decision. And that decision requires some level of discipline. And there's a lot of variety to that because not everybody's goals are the same. But the point is, the decision, you have to outline what the objective is and pay attention to the steps to get there.
Very good.
Disabling the sudden, if you will.
Very nicely done. Looks like you could give Chad some competition too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very personal.
Thank you very much. How about this beautiful table with all the ladies? Yeah, and I tell you what, so that you all can fight among yourselves as to who's going to be the next table. How about I'll come to the table next to it. I'm coming next to you, okay? So you all figure it out.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. So we talked about a lot, and so since you hit on that, I'll hit on the fact that we talked about things don't go wrong, they start wrong. And I think that what that gentleman talked about feeds into this because it's your decisions. The gradual is the discipline. So if you're doing that from the start, then you're going to get a better result. We talked about onboarding was a big one. It's the systems that will save you. It's the systems that will save you from the start. So if you find that something's going wrong, you have to go back to the beginning.
Very nicely done. Very good. How about we just come to this table right here? Yeah.
We had a lot of good things to say, but what hit me first, honestly, was the Kmart. So the blue light special. I mean, I'm a chef, so always wanting that, but I think Kmart's not around anymore. And I always think, like, maybe they shouldn't have done the blue light special because they oversold products and now they lost their market share. But I think diversity is good, but I was just thinking about that. Say something good and positive.
Okay. So what I was thinking about the diversity aspect of it, I think diversity is a great thing because you don't know what someone else can bring to the table and the new perspective that you can take. But I also agree that you do need that foundation, and to only focus on the differences can deconstruct a business from the inside out. And I think that just focusing on what everyone can bring to the table and bring different perspectives to is the most important thing to explode growth.
Thank you very much. Give it up for all 3 of the tables there. So I do a lot of reflective thinking and it's like if I was to be leading a company again, what would I do different? If my wife and I talk about that, she said, well, that's a no-brainer. We're not going to start another company. So yeah, that's a diversity issue right there. But she always wins. That's why I'm here. It's very, very, very simple. When Brenda and I got married in 1979, I made her a promise. I said, if you ever leave me, I'm coming with you. So that threat is still there. So I want to give you 7 or 8 things that I think I would, if I was starting a company, in a business, that I would want my people to value. Different from these are our values, but I want them to value. And so I was trying to create a lesson with some words that would be sticky. So I came up with S-Q-U-I-R-R-E-L. Can everyone say? Very good, very good. Some of you sounded like squirrels. So, and what I'm going to do is just to make it sticky, so you'll remember that. S-Q-U-I-R-R-E-L. I would want my team to value scarcity. 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 I've been doing what I do for close to 40 years. And everybody is looking for more, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But your best thinking, your best relationship, your best innovation, your best discoveries are not going to be when you are rolling in finances, when you're rolling in team. Your best thinking will come with scarcity. So what does scarcity do? Scarcity allows us to think in ways that we have not thought about. Scarcity allows us to function. Okay, I think that I can fix anything in my house with duct tape, a coat hanger, and maybe a screwdriver. Anybody else with me on that one? Yeah, pliers, of course, pliers. I remember cars in which my back in the 70s when my gas tank wanted to divorce the rest of the body. I remember going in there and tying up my gas tank with a bunch of coat hangers put together. Hey, it got me from point A to point B. Nobody died. So what does scarcity do? Scarcity allows you to build a team. Scarcity allows us to think in innovative ways. Scarcity allows us to take our brains where they usually do not go. So if someone's answer is, hey, we need to hire more people, that's not innovation. Hey, we need to just buy the software. That's not innovation. Innovation is we don't have it. Now follow me on this one. We don't have it, yet we need to do it. So how do we do that? So here I'm going to just give you pragmatic stuff, okay? Stuff that you can actually use. Most people live in an either-or world. We could do this or we could do this. What I have learned is I say to people, so what would be on the one of the solutions? They'll give me a solution. What would be a second solution? They'll give me a second solution. If you really want their brains to work, you say, what's the third solution? By the time you ask the same person for the fifth solution, they're going to have a brain sprain. Because we have to, as leaders, take people into a place where they actually think. We have an opportunity, we don't have the resources, we don't have the people, we don't have the money, we don't have whatever it is. How do we still make this happen without this? If you are a founder of a business, if you started a business, can I see your hands? Can I see your hands? You know exactly what I'm talking about. You made it happen in the middle of scarcity. So scarcity is not buying something. Scarcity is about thinking a certain way. So when I work with corporations, I have learned that our world is full of doers, very few thinkers. And so I see CEOs and executive directors and owners and people like that saying, I'm doing all the thinking. I can tell you why you're doing all the thinking, because you don't allow them to think. So how do you bring them along to be thought leaders? Because everything starts with a thought. So you think. The second one is you articulate it to yourself, self-talk. Then you make a decision based on that. And then you take an action based on that decision. You do that action long enough, it becomes corporate behavior. And corporate behavior will affect your integrity, your character, what you're known for. And finally, you'll walk into your destiny. So those are the 7 steps that we go through. But if we don't have people thinking, but they are acting, that's step number 4. So you have to always have to explain to them why we're doing this. So it's an explanation from you, but they have no skin in the game. If you were to go to them and say, hey, listen, we don't have it, so I think there are 6 of you on this team, and we'll have to let 2 of you go. I won't tell you. That's scarcity? We'll say, give us 3 months. Think we can make this happen. How about this? How about that? So how do we get people in our organizations to value scarcity? Scarcity of time, scarcity of facilities, scarcity of attention, scarcity of focus, scarcity of money, scarcity of people, scarcity. I would teach my people value scarcity. Now, I don't care who you are, you will have those dry spells. You will have those desert moments. You will have those things in your life that will happen. So how do you, ahead of time, teach people, we have grown, everyone's going to agree with this thought in this room. Your growth spurts have come in your moments of scarcity. If you look back at your growth spurts, just before that, you made some decisions in moments of scarcity. And those are the ball work of decision making, not when you have it, when you don't have it. I would want my people to know we will have scarcity. And when we have scarcity, this is how we think about scarcity. We don't think of scarcity as something, something to fix. We think of scarcity as an opportunity to rethink, to explore, to discover, to find new ways, to do more with less. Otherwise, the conversation becomes, the business is not doing well. Things are not coming in. We are kind of slow. Things are down. That is because they don't value that moment in their life. My greatest moments have come not when I was doing well, but when I was broke. My greatest moments have come not when I had it, but I did not have it. I have learned to value scarcity. My marriage, almost 46 years, is strong because we went through hell in the first part of our life. Our first baby was born 1980. We didn't have money to feed her. She needed soy milk, allergic to natural milk. I don't know if anybody in here has ever bought soy milk. It's like gold in a can. They think very highly of themselves. So Brenda and I went down to the social services office with this baby in our arm. And we got the ticket, filled out a book on ourselves. If you ever want to write a book on yourself, go apply for food stamps. You'll know more about yourself than you thought you did. So we filled out a book. We didn't qualify. The baby got milk. We were having fried tortillas, beans, rice, grilled onions on tortillas. There were days in my life and Brenda's life where we just had a peanut jelly sandwich, half of it for lunch, half of it for dinner. Stayed hungry for days. But it was in those days that Brenda and I had to collaborate on our scarcity. And I can tell you, looking back on it, our marriage is amazing today because we went through hell. I would want my people to understand scarcity is not something we fix. Scarcity is something we leverage for where you're going. That's what S stands for. There will be a test, by the way. So S stands for what? Very good. Good class, good class. Q stands for questions. Questions. I want our organization to value questions. And it's quite a generational thing. When I was growing up, I never asked my dad why. That's why I'm alive today. Anybody else grew up in a home like that? It's like, I'm the king and you're not. So when I hear a question, if I'm not careful, as to why this and why that, or what about this, if I'm not careful, I hear that question in a different way than I'm being given the question. So I've got daughters, I've got granddaughter, I've got a son-in-law, I have a grandson-in-law. And all that to say is when people ask questions, there's a canary in the mine, asking questions. All questions are welcome, so I will teach them how to ask questions. You ask questions by not putting somebody else down. You ask questions by not throwing shade on, like some people have been doing this, but you ask questions that are respectful. You ask questions in an honorable way. You ask questions, some questions are to be asked in a group, and some questions are to be asked one-on-one. I would teach them how to ask questions because an organization that cannot question is going to self-destruct eventually. Unfortunately, we're living in a society in which your people, when you ask a question, they think you're making a statement. They think that your question is a leading question. So most people have never learned how to ask what I call healthy, future-oriented questions. I would teach my organization the value of questions and how to ask questions. Because we're living in a time where it's not about the answers, it's about the questions that are being answered. So whatever you are selling is a problem that got monetized. Everything you've ever bought, and everything you're ever selling, it used to be a problem that got monetized. The chair you're sitting in, at one time was a tree stump, something you sat on, right, on a log. It was a problem. But through years, we sell you a chair, we sell you a table. This is for blind people. I can't read without this. It's everything that you sell or buy is a problem monetized. I do a lot of business at a UPS store, get my mail there and stuff like that. So the owner, he's got 6 locations and making good money. When COVID happened in 2020, I was in his store in the month of May. His name is John. John says to me, "Hey, Sam, I'm loving it." I said, "Really?" He said, "I have made more money in the last 2 months printing signs 6 feet. Big signs, 6 feet." He said, "I have 6 feet signs. I'm selling them faster than I can produce them." Don't you wish you were in the mask making business? There's a problem monetized. This microphone I'm wearing is a problem monetized. The shirt I'm wearing is a problem monetized. The shoes you're wearing, problem monetized. You go to the barber, to the cosmetic people, it's a problem monetized. This building is a problem monetized. Everything you'll ever buy or sell is a problem monetized. But the problem does not get solved with answers. The problem gets solved with asking more questions. I want people who will ask good questions in an honorable, respectful, appropriate manner. I want them to value questions. So S stands for what? Q stands for? U stands for unafraid of failure. Unafraid of failure. Unafraid of failure. Unafraid of failure. The first book I wrote in the early 90s, the title was Failure, the Womb of Success. Failure, the Womb of Success. I have learned more, grown more as a result of my failures than successes. So in failure, we will either blame somebody or blame a situation or blame a circumstance or blame some external or internal thing that's happening, or we will learn lessons from it, what actually happened, and how do we grow from that. Once you get your team to value failure. Isn't it crazy? I'm trying to teach you everything that's counterintuitive. Valuing scarcity. I mean, when the last time somebody said, "Hey, you don't have it?" That's a great place to be. Questions? Failure. Unafraid of failure. So that what that does is it allows a new muscle. Let me digress for a moment. So people who focus on perfection are focusing on what could go wrong. People who are focusing on excellence are saying, we're going to give it our all, we're going to get behind it 1,000% and see what comes out of that. So failure becomes a learning opportunity. Failure becomes a regrouping opportunity. Failure becomes a lab that we work in. So be it a Steve Jobs or whoever comes to your mind, you see their movies, you read their books, and they tell you about We went through a valley, and then we came up. And then another valley, and then we came up. No business and no corporation goes like this. All of our lives are like this. So you have as many peaks as you have valleys. How your success in your business is not contingent on how you are enjoying the fruit of your labor on the mountaintop. The growth of your business happens in the valley. How you deal with the failures. So remember this, we fail at things, but we are not a failure. You are not a failure. You may fail at things, but you don't fail. And once we teach our people the value of failure, that failure is not a bad thing, failure is a learning opportunity. Let's be really careful that we don't have a lot of failure, but if failure happens, nobody is going to be castigated for that. Unafraid of failure. And when failure happens, we don't ask a question of what do we do about this. When failure happens, we ask ourselves this question: how should we think about this? What opportunity is embedded in this failure? I got so many failure stories. I have failed more than I have succeeded. Many times more. But I have learned in my life that if I dig into that failure and not drive past that failure, not blame others for the failure, not blame circumstances for failure, not blame situations for failure, but I say, okay, this thing did not work out. How should I think about that? Because it makes me wiser for the future. Not jaded, not cynical, wiser. Big difference. Jaded and cynical is, I'll never let that happen again. Then it's not a lesson. You are just responding to it. You are just kind of reacting to never again. But the real issue is, how are you asking your people to say when we go through failure? I wrote a book called New Thinking, New Future. New Thinking, New Future. In that book, I premiered a concept that I call the muddy middle. The muddy middle. The muddy middle says that when you start something, an initiative, a product, a service, everyone's really excited about that. Let me just go ahead and do this right here. Everyone's really excited about that. That is over here. And everybody's working toward the celebration that will happen over here. And we start on this journey. We start on this journey. But it doesn't matter who you are, somewhere in here, you're going to hit the muddy middle. And this muddy middle is when enthusiasm is lacking, when results are not coming as quickly as you predicted they would, when not everyone is as excited as they were over here and anticipating over here. But you're going through the muddy middle. So what I did was, I wrote that in my book, but then when I meet with corporations, I simply say to them, I think you got to create this language. Some people would call it failure. I just call it the muddy middle. And so when there's a team working on a project, on an opportunity, a product, I want them to know ahead of time that you will hit the muddy middle. This is not the time to pull back. This is not the time to make excuses. This is not the time to blame other people or circumstance situations. But if I was to do an organization again, I would say to them, hey, just know that we're going through the muddy middle. And when we get there, I want to look around the room and say, listen, when we started there, everyone in this room knew that we will hit the muddy middle. And say, ladies and gentlemen, that's where we're at right now. We're just going through the muddy middle. Relax. We're going to be okay. We're just going through the muddy middle. So how do we teach our people to value scarcity? To be free to ask questions, but then know how to ask questions? We don't want you to sit in a meeting and say, why would somebody do that? No, that's where you get slapped. We want them to be unafraid of failure. I. Oh, let me make sure you got the S stands for what? U stands for, Q stands for? U stands for? Unafraid of failure. I stands for incremental increase. Incremental increase. Incremental increase. Incremental increase. So one of the questions I've asked so many CEOs on every planet, and there's certain questions I ask more for my learning. And one of the questions I ask is, and these are all growing companies, large companies, and one of the questions I ask them is, do you have any regrets? You're doing great right now. Do you have any regrets? And I would say at least 8 out of 10, about 80% of CEOs, entrepreneurs, business incubators, give me the same answer with different verbiage. Here's the common answer I get. We grew too fast. Our systems could not keep up with us. Our resources could not keep up with us. Our software couldn't keep up with us. Our people couldn't keep up with us. Our vision could not keep up with us. We were just not able to do everything because we grew too fast. But the concept of valuing incremental increase, and the words I want you to get behind that is little by little. Little by little. Little by little. Because most organizations' internal infrastructures are not built for explosive growth. Think about whatever business you're in. If you got 100 new orders today, how are you doing that without crushing your culture and getting a bad name and less than a star rating? Incremental increase. So I want my people to say, we're all for increase, but it's going to be incremental increase, what we call managed growth. Managed growth says we're going to be in step with how we are growing. We're not trying to, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. We're going to, growth is not our only criteria. Helping others. Everyone in this room would say, we're in the business of helping others. Would you agree with that? Whatever you do, you're in the business of helping others. And as you are helping others, that's our business, and that is what we want to say to people and really believe it. We want them to know that, hey, listen, everyone has capacity. Everything has a capacity. Your phones have a battery capacity. This room has a capacity. Your car has a capacity. Everything, every human being has capacity. And when you exceed your capacity, you can talk about how quickly they grew and how they blew up. But the same companies are just like shining stars. They were doing great in 2023 and not so much now. And that, my friends, is a very difficult concept for the rank and file to embrace. Of all the things I'm talking about there, that's the hardest one. Because everybody wants to be part of something that's growing and blowing, and I'm all for that. But your systems break down very quickly. Your processes break down very quickly. Your finances break down. Your people break down. Because as you grow, you need higher level people. And if you have the same level people leading higher level operations, it's just gradually and then suddenly. So S stands for? Q stands for? U stands for? I stands for? The next R stands for risks. 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 So I've noticed a trend. And the trend is very simple. When you are digging it out, so as to speak, you You know, you're just kind of working it in your garage, or you just rented this little shared workspace. When you're digging it out, however you want to say it in your context, when you're just entrepreneuring it up, you took high risks. You took big risks. But the larger the company gets, the risk threshold goes down. So you get into a protective growth mode rather than a growth itself. Let me put it this way. We start playing not to lose rather than to win. So what kind of teams start playing not to lose? Think it through. Teams that are ahead in the score, teams that are winning, start playing not to lose, and we start playing a defensive posture. See, simply put, risk. When you're 100% sure, you're too late. It's the when and then. And you say, well, we're waiting on this data to come in, we're waiting on this study to come in. By the time you receive that data, the world has moved on. You never get current data. You always get, because data is static. How else to describe this? So there's landscape and there's seascape. You're all familiar with that concept. So landscape is stuff that doesn't move. So if I'm on a beach, and here's the water, if I'm on a beach and that's my hotel over there, that's not moving. At least, hopefully, it's not moving. Okay. So that is landscape. But in front of me is what? Seascape. That is moving, changing directions, volume, everything is changing in front of me. So as companies grow, they become a more landscape rather than seascape. So whatever report you get, whatever data you get, remember that word feasibility study you get, is not current. You don't ever have current information unless it's financial stuff that's churning out right then. You don't have current information. You're always making decisions on past decisions. So risk-taking was easier when you didn't have it. It's harder now that you have a building with your logo on the outside and a parking space reserved CEO. Risks. So S stands for? Q stands for? I stands for? U stands for? R stands for? R stands for? R stands for? Okay. I see the level is going down here. Do you want lunch or not? Because after this, what's going to happen is there'll be a QR code up there, and you can send in your question. It says Q&A. I don't have any A's. I already told you I make up stuff. And I call it response. Q and R. How's that? Okay. The next R stands for relationships. 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 When people are in relationship, they give each other the benefit of the doubt. When people are in relationships, they are willing to collaborate and corroborate. When people are in a relationship, they are willing to cross the aisle and help somebody else. When people are in relationships, they act and behave differently. When people are in relationships. Okay. How many of you, when you're growing up in high school or college, had some friends that, you all hung out all the time, did all kinds of ungodly stuff together. And when you meet them right now, it's like you've been talking every day. How many of you have some, see, hands everywhere. I remember a few years ago, there were 5 of us, and we call ourselves BACS, B-A-C-K-S. Bobby, Alex, Cedric, Kaushal, Sam. And we hung out and did all kinds of stuff. Sometimes we got caught, but we got out of it. So then we all grew up. I live in the US. Some of my friends were living in Germany. Another one was living in Abu Dhabi. Another one was still in India, etc. So we decided, and these are my friends, we WhatsApp every day, even today. That's what we do. But this was when we were 18, 19. Last time was 20. So we were going back and forth, and somebody said, hey, why don't we, our wives have never met, our children have never met, why don't we meet up and do a holiday, a vacation together? Sounded like a great idea. So the guy in Abu Dhabi said, I will host you all in Dubai. So we all the families from different parts of the world met up in Dubai. I was the last, so all of our flights were coming in within an hour of each other from different places. And I was the last guy with my family to come. They were all in an area. And as soon as we saw each other, now remember, now we are older, married, kids. As soon as we saw each other, we went into all the stuff we used to do. The elbow and we had our own signals, had our own rituals. So here we are, 5 of us, in this parking area outside the airport in Dubai, going through all of that. And our wives are looking at us like, these are boys. I married a boy. Hadn't seen them in 20-some years. And yet, in that moment, it was all there because of what? One word, relationships. I don't think organizations spend enough time building some kind of manner in which it's relationship building. It can be done in small groups, large groups, really doesn't matter how you do that. How do we value? Because people who play together stay together. Do you have a budget for play? Because if you want to keep your best talent, you can pay them. But if they have relationships inside the organization. So I want to teach, if I was to ever do another organization, I would want my people to know, hey, listen, we all have jobs to do, we all do things, but that's where relationships comes in. That's why you're nice to other people. That's why you say hello to people. That's why you invite people if you want to do different things. We want people to be in relationship, because if they're in relationship, your company will be healthy. And for that, it is on the leader's responsibility to create systems in which relationship building takes place. It could be bowling, it could be a ball game, it could be eating out, it could be a picnic. Really doesn't matter. It could be in different sizes. One of my clients right now on the West Coast has 600 employees. He cannot do all 600 together, but he can break it down into 20s. He can have a supervisor say, hey, guy, here's the money twice a year. Can you do something together? Figure it out. Go to a ball game together. Do something together. I want people to value relationships. Let me go to E. E is, I want them to value eruptions in the organization, like a volcano. I want them to value eruptions. Every organization will have eruptions. Growth is an eruption. Loss is an eruption. New people coming in is an eruption. People leaving is an eruption. Getting a raise for everybody can be eruptive. Not getting a raise 3 years in a row can be eruptive. Changing schedules can be eruptive. Hey, anybody in here ever changed softwares? That's what I'm talking about. Because the software company came in and sold you, this will answer everything. So in question and answer, they say, can it do this? Yes. Can it do that? Yes. Can this department talk to that department? Yes. Can it do this report? Yes. Of course, that's how they sell stuff, by saying yes. And the IT people, I'm going to be careful, there might be IT people in this room. Don't come, no. I'm knee deep already. How about this? IT people are different. This is different. And then you get the software. You get the software. And the screen looks different. Things don't work. Yeah, you got civil war going on the inside. And then the conversation is, who? They can't get the other words without cussing. And I hate this. Can we get the old software back? They said that all the data from this is going to merge into that. And it's all jumbled up. It's taking me 3 days to do what used to take me 2 hours. You all have heard that story. Eruption. I want my people to know we will have eruptions. And there'll be eruptions I cannot fix. But you will have eruptions. Adding people to a team is eruptions. Because everything, like Stephen Covey Jr. said in the title of his famous book, great book, it's called The Speed of Trust. Everything goes at the speed of trust. So let's just say, what's her name? Trisha. Alexis. Did you just make that up? You have to think about it, yeah. Oh, you had a mint in your mouth. Okay, very good, okay. What do I know? So Trisha, Alexis, and your name, ma'am? Kelly. Trisha, Alexis, and Kelly. So I'm at a cafe on a sidewalk. Trisha and I are good friends. I mean, just like that. There's no daylight between us. I mean, 100% trust. So on a scale of 1 to 10, she's a 10. So as Trisha and I are talking, Alexis comes by, and she says, I see her coming. Trisha sees her coming. But both of us trust Alexis on a scale of 1 to 10 at a 7. So somebody tell me what happened to the level of conversation. A few minutes ago it was a what? 10, but now it is a 7. And remind me your name again? Kelly. Kelly comes up and sees, she knows all of us. She stopped by, and on a scale of 1, sorry about this, Kelly. In the scale, yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, she's a 2. So, conversation started at what level? It went from there to 2. And that is what happens when you add a team member. You can introduce them however you want to. They can be checked out on LinkedIn and everything else. You can do everything. You can do everything. But just because Kelly, totally qualified, exceptional add to the team, but we don't know her like that. So how do we let people know there's not just departures, it is additions? I have found so once somebody departs, it's like, okay, they're gone. They're gone. And I can put a barrier there and we can move on. But when Kelly walks up, yesterday in our meeting, we were having at least a 7-level conversation. But now, we can talk like we used to talk. So I would prepare my team for moments of eruption, growth, loss, people coming, people leaving, having money, not having money, making great sales, not having enough sales, having more clients, not having enough clients. Eruption. And if you don't do that, your team is going to come up with its own vernacular, its own language, its own descriptors. Like things are not good right now. No, we are going through an eruptive moment. Good things are waiting to happen if we behave ourselves during the eruption. And the L stands for leadership, leadership, leadership. Leadership. I'm going to give you the job description for every leader. Doesn't matter who you are, what you do, what your role is. Here are the 3-point job description. They all start with the letter D. Discover, develop, deploy. Discover, develop, deploy. Let me make sure that you got it. Everyone together, you do what? Discover, develop, deploy. Every leader has to make it their responsibility to discover other people. I'm talking about people now. Because leaders lead people. Managers lead organizations and teams. So as a leader, you're always discovering. Everyone in this room is here because somebody discovered you. Somebody discovered you. Somebody tapped you on your shoulder. Somebody gave you your first job. Somebody believed in you. I know for me, as an immigrant, in 1973, people bought me clothes. I came to America, I had never done laundry before. I'd never done laundry in my life before because in our society, it's very patriarchal. So the ladies do that. I've taken my wife, she's white. I've taken my wife to India so many times to show her that's what she does. She laughs at me too. How it is supposed to be done. And she looks at me saying, babe, we're just visiting. We're going back home. So I'd never done laundry before. So I went to the laundromat on campus, and I did not know you had to separate the colored clothes from the white clothes. Didn't have that many clothes to begin with. So I threw them into the washer. In those days, you could do it for a quarter, cha-ching. Some of you remember that laundromat thing, and the coin drops. And then I picked it up from there and put it in the commercial dryer. It was a barrel, that vertical dryer. It had a lever on it saying hot, warm. I'm thinking logically, you're drying stuff, right? So hot. I put it in hot. When I got my clothes out, I could not recognize them. Nothing looked the same. I put on my pants the next day, and they were like this. My shirts were like this. I remember going to class. I was a freshman going to class, and Larry King was one of the fellow students. And he looked at me, and he said, Sam, so this had to be, I got here in August of 1973. It's still August. I've been here a week, maybe. He says, you need some clothes. I like people who are discerning like that. And I still remember he put me in his car and took me down Glenwood Avenue in Atlanta to a Goodwill store. Gave me 20 bucks. 20 bucks? 1973? Goodwill? Can I have another cart? I mean, because of Larry King. I'll just tell you one more story. So, went to church, and there was this couple, Dwayne and Paulette Thomas. And they said to me, hey, listen, we'd like to take you out for lunch and then buy you some clothes. Wonderful. So they put me in their car, took me to a cafeteria called Piccadilly. I'd never seen that much food in my life. You know those rolls, when you don't know how you're going to eat, every pocket becomes a repository. And then after that, we went to South DeKalb Mall. And after that, it walked me down to J.C. Penney. And I remember what I bought there, my first pair of new pants. My shirt was turtleneck silk beige. My pants were black polyester with ruffles. But they didn't have my shoes, so we crossed over flat soles, went to Kmart. And I got shoes with heels like this. Yeah, those were the days. Heels like this, platforms. Some of you wore those. Don't look at me like you have no idea what I'm talking about. It had 5 colors. I'm just telling you, and I got thousands of the stories of people who bought gas for my car, who put tires in my car, who bought me clothes, who gave me $5, who helped me make a phone call to India to talk to my parents. In those days, it was $5 a minute. Somebody discovered you. So never come to a place in which you think, I'm all that and a bag of chips. I want people around me to be discoverers. Because nobody looks like you want them to look when you first find them. And then you want them to develop other people. Development is different from training. Training is focused on a task. Development is about a person. I can teach you what to do, when to do it, how to do the invoice, how to stack this, how to make the call. I can train you in all of that. But development is, how do we have people skills? Development is, how do we help others? Development is, how do we deal with conflict? Development is, how do you present a new idea? Development is, how do you course correct? You develop you train for task, and you develop for people. Most organizations I've worked with have been overtrained and underdeveloped. So you have people who are brilliant, but they are jerks or jerkess. Don't want to leave anybody out. It's like, what about us? Some of the best workers I've had, can get the job done on time, no reminders, under budget. But boy, in the process of doing that, they destroy people and goodwill. And you have to go behind them and keep cleaning up their messes. I want to develop people. I want my team to be developers. Trainers I can hire. Developers you cannot hire. Can I say that again? Trainers you can hire. Developers has to come from somewhere within. So you discover, you develop, and then deploy. Deploy means that we are always looking to move people up, higher, with greater responsibilities. We deploy them into other arenas. So if I could meet with my executive team, I would say to them, guys, you have a lot of work to do. But really, my report card on you is simply this. Who have you discovered? Once a quarter, I want a report from you. Who did you discover? Once a quarter, I want the same report to tell me What are you doing to develop people? And then once a quarter, for the same people, I want you to tell me, who are you deploying? Discover, develop, deploy. So we're supposed to do some questions and responses now. So if you want to come on up, let me, after that session is over, I got one more story to tell, and then we'll have lunch. It's 11:43 in case you're wondering. So as he's coming up, S stands for? I'll start all over again. Yeah. S stands for? U stands for? U stands for? R stands for? R stands for? R stands for? E stands for? And L stands for? Good class. Give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand. Very good. Very good.
Even have a stool for you. There you go.
Thank you.
All right, we have some good questions it's coming in. If you have a question, there's a QR code on the screen that you can put it in. We also will have a mic going around if you have a question in person. This just helps us control it. All right, such good stuff. Thank you, Sam. Such good stuff. Oh my goodness. This first question comes, what is the best way to manage a situation where you've missed the gradualies and suddenly you have a problem?
Run. What I have discovered is that, let me get closer to you here. Yeah. What I've discovered is that it's the elephant in the room. And it's not how you handle it. This is the how is not the important thing here. You've got to bring yourself to the table. You've got to acknowledge it. You've got to be humble about it. Can I say that again? You've got to be humble about it. You've got to resist the urge to blame. And focus people on where do we go from here. Because that is not the time to do an autopsy. That is the time for your integrity to shine through. It is in those moments people get a glimpse of who you are. Not what you do, not what title is, who you are. And how you handle the situation and bring yourself to the table and have integrity about it, have honor about it, have respect about it, not vilifying somebody, not throwing somebody under the bus, not excusing yourself. Because if you are the lead leader, the buck doesn't just stop there, it starts there as well. So I think the best way to do it is to acknowledge it, be humble about it, redirect the focus to where we go from now, and let who you are shine through in a difficult time.
That's good. That's good. Do you encourage a more of a committee kind of approach to it? I know you kind of joked about the committee idea, but like to have multiple people, because some people see the elephant from the trunk view, some people see it from the leg view. And so do you find that to be advantageous when dealing with something big, or is it more of the leader needs to really identify it first in themselves before bringing others into that equation?
Again, every answer I'm giving, of course I'm making it up, but
What's your response to this?
Every response I'm giving has stories. So when he asks me a question, my brain is like Google, it's just searching for everything that I have seen in 40-some years of my life, just doing what I do, working with corporations, working with organizations, for-profit and non-profit. The larger the room, the lower solution orientation. Because now people get measured because Kelly is in the room now. Sorry. So what I have preferred is to have a conversation with maybe 2 or 3 people, then 2 or 3 people, then 2 or 3 people, then 2 or 3 people, because you don't want it to become an echo chamber. And when dogs, this is not going to be good, but anyhow, when dogs run in packs, they act differently than when you deal with a dog at a time. So because once that conversation turns sideways, it's very difficult for you to stop it, because now you are quenching or tapping it down. So I would divide it into 2, 3 people, 2, 3 people, 2, 3 people, and then get everyone together and say, this is what I've learned. I've taken notes, this is what I've learned. Different ones have said different things. No names, but this is where we're at. And with that, where do we go from there? So you don't solve problems in a large group.
That's good. Okay, from the crowd, how do you change an established culture? One that started wrong and is continuing to go wrong?
This is a difficult one. So the ultimate question is, if we keep going this way, where's the train going? Bankruptcy, if it goes that way. If I stop it now, I'm going to have internal bleeding, but I will not die. And that is where you earn your pay. How to deal with it courageously, and how to deal with it with dignity, honoring, respect. At the same time, you have to say, we got to stop this. If you don't stop it, you know where the train is going. Most leaders who do not stop it basically lack courage. Can I tell you something? In leadership, assume there will be blood on the floor. Hopefully more of theirs than yours. If you think you can do, I wrote a book in 2015, called Leadership Pain. Leadership Pain. It's my bestseller right now. It came out 10 years ago, and under its category on Amazon is still in the top 30. Think about that. There's no way to do leadership at the level you want to do leadership and avoid pain. The thesis of that book is, and I'm not trying to sell you that book, Leadership Pain, but you can buy it, the thesis of the book is you will grow only to the threshold of your pain. So pain avoidance is not, leadership is not for wusses and wimps. Leadership needs a backbone and courage. And if keeping people happy is your goal in life, you will be the most unhappy person alive. Because none of us in this room can keep everyone happy. But you have a responsibility. So I'm not asking you to be jerks. I'm not asking you to go off on people, but I'm asking you to be the courageous one, knowing there'll be pain. But this pain will not be as bad as if you keep on with it.
Yeah, indeed. You mentioned a book. What book are you reading, or what book would you recommend for developing your leadership? Aside from one of your many books, obviously.
Yeah. The book that I wrote in 1996, I believe, was self-published book. It's been republished over a dozen times. I got known for that book. And the book was simply called Who's Holding Your Ladder? Who's Holding Your Ladder? And the premise is that if you're the visionary and the ladder you're climbing is your vision, your ascent up the ladder is not dependent on your vision or your vision climbing skills, it depends on who's holding your ladder. And in there I talk about I call it staff, S-T-A-F-F. I want my ladder holders to be strong. By that I mean they handle instruction correction. T stands for they're teachable. A stands for they're attentive, learn quickly. F stands for they are firm. And this F stands for they are faithful. So that's my best book when you're talking about teams, who's holding your ladder.
That's awesome. In the discovery phase of people, how do you assess people that turn out to be different from what they promised after they have already engaged with the company for a few months?
Happens a lot. Happens a lot. I think that's the time to have a conversation. Remember, the earlier you handle it, the better off you are. Things don't go wrong, they start wrong. So if you know as early as you know that's not a fit, it's not going to work, we cannot repair this, it's not going to happen, you got to deal with it then. So what people do is either they relocate them into some other part of the organization, they give them different assignment for which they are suited better, or they terminate them. I hate even saying this, but earlier termination is a blessing to you. I have carried people out of loyalty, out of, his mama just had cancer, things that as a human being you want to deal with. They moved across the country to take this job. But termination is usually the better way. Now, you all can have a better way, and that's okay. You have your context. I don't know your context. I do know this, that now you're working hard to not only carry them. So your team is asking these questions. Your team is saying, so Trisha, I'm going to be, you're the CEO now, okay? So you're up there now. The team is asking these questions. Does she see what we see? Question number one. Does she see what we see? Question number two is, does she see what we see and is still not dealing with it? Question number three is, how come she doesn't see what we see? And then the worst question is, when is somebody going to do something about this? I said to you those four things because your leadership now becomes questioned when you don't deal with that situation. And you are the one who loses leadership equity, while for all kinds of different reasons, you're trying to keep these people on. So when you do that, there'll be misunderstanding, understanding. You got to be careful that you don't go spend time justifying your actions. You don't vilify anybody. You try to make as clean of a break as possible.
That's good. Okay, last question, then you said you had a quick story that you want to share so that we can get everybody to lunch. But last question, I feel like it's a good one that you can give a sentence to here. But how can you foster motivation when the environment is going through an eruption?
The greatest demotivator in any organization, this is a simple question for me. I've seen this movie so many times. It's like the Titanic. There's no suspense in this movie. You're not saying, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? You know it's going down. The greatest demotivator in any organization are other demotivated people. Listen, you don't have enough energy, you don't have enough time, you don't have enough resources, you will not live long enough to keep people motivated. You're not a cheerleader, even though that may be part of your portfolio responsibility, but you're not the cheerleader. The focus is not on the demotivated people, but the focus is on the people who are demotivators. And that you have to deal with because they get emboldened by the day. They take more territory by the day. They gain more credibility with other people by the day. So let me give you an illustration and then finish up, huh? You go to the doctor today, and that goes along with that question. You go to the doctor today, and thank you, by the way, for putting up with me today. I'm grateful for that. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Grateful. You go to the doctor today, and the doctor says to you, hey, so glad you came in time. We have discovered cancer on your right shoulder. But it's in early stages. We can get it. We can get it all. And with a little rehab, you'll be good. And the doctor said, on another hand, the surgeon says, on another hand, not only it's early stages, it's here, it's localized, but I have a cancellation next Wednesday when I can do the surgery, because after that, the next available is going to be in December when I can do surgery. I have a question for you. Which appointment are you going to take? Next Wednesday or wait till December? I can't hear you. Yeah, next Wednesday. Why are you going to take next Wednesday? Because if you leave it alone, what's going to do? It's going to grow. They may have to amputate your arm. It might reach into your lungs. It's going to grow. So the sooner you do the surgery, the better off you are. Almost everybody in this room knows who's got to go. But you're waiting till December. May I suggest next Wednesday? I was doing an executive roundtable for one organization, and I was there for a day and a half. And we had about 25, 28 people in the room. All of them were higher up in the organization. And during the course of conversation, I heard things like, some people this, some people that, this is not working out that. So we were talking like that. And I got tired of that. And I said to them, okay, everybody stand around this room. And I gave them each one a piece of paper and a pen. And I said, look around this room. If there was one person you could fire, put their name on it. Did you know they all named the same person? Except for one? Everybody in your organization knows who's got to go, but you're going to hire a consultant like me who's going to charge you money to tell you what you already know. Everybody knows. And the longer you wait, this is a terrible note to end this on, but it's terrible. Because you're already thinking about who that person is. Everybody in this room is thinking of somebody. Because the longer you wait, your own leadership equity is going down. I want to conclude with a quote from Alvin Toffler, a British philosopher, leadership philosopher. I'll say it 2-3 times. Alvin Toffler said this: the illiterate of the future will not be those who cannot read or write. The illiterate of the future will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. I'm going to say it 2 more times. The illiterate of the future will not be those who cannot read or write. The illiterate of the future will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. One more time. I read that quote in 1989. I still remember that. It affected me deeply because it has helped me in my life. The illiterate of the future will not be those who cannot read or write. Alvin Toffler goes on to say, the illiterate of the future will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. My challenge for you is not number 1. My challenge for you is not number 3. As I move towards my seat and hopefully lunch, my challenge to you is, what do I need to unlearn? Thank you very much.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam. So great. All right, guys, we're gonna get you to lunch. This is a grab lunch, bring it back to the table. We're gonna keep everything going. We wanna respect your time so well, but I do have another giveaway. And we believe in continuing growth and education and information as we're doing this. So Sam Chan has this incredible bundle on his website. Brilliant marketing by Sam Chan. He named his website, are you all ready? samchan.com. Brilliant. You'll never forget it. It should be squirrel.com. You got to think about that. Okay. But anyways, he has these bundles, and I have 4 of them that I want to give away of 4 of his, it's 6 of his books. But Jim Waters, where are you at, Jim? Jim Waters, I know you checked in. If you're in the bathroom, it's going to be awkward when you come running. Okay, if you don't run up, I have to move on. Okay. Jill Sintlinger, if I said that right. Yes, awesome. Come on down. Come on down. Give it up for him. Desmond Aguirre. Desmond Aguirre. Yes, awesome. Come on down. And Hannah Breckenfeld. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, come on up to the front real quick. It's so important that we always keep this going. We keep our knowledge growing, and hopefully this can help add some value to you. Y'all got here quick. There you go. Awesome, 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 awesome. Give it up for him one more time. There you go. That's so great. Okay. I know that you want to hear more from Dr. Chan. Go check out his website, samchan.com. If you want to hear this entire presentation over again, we'll have it up on our Hope Fellowship YouTube page next week. We'll send out a link with a follow-up email when it's ready. Make sure that you are a part of that. Sam talked a whole lot about firing people that don't belong. So if I'm not here after lunch, means I didn't do a good job up front. Hopefully I am. But go grab food, bring it back to the table. We're going to get right into more of our content as we get going. And it's all out there on the other side of the lobby. So make sure that you grab it and come right back. We'll see you soon.